TikTok, it's time to rock. Welcome, honky tonks, to the 5150 show, a special celebration. I have Brad, the backdoor man, here with me. We've swapped positions because he's going to be leading this show, folks. You surely understand the topic of this show. So I'm going to pass that on to Brad soon, but I'm going to thank everybody, bro, for joining us. And more importantly, going to thank you, bro, for jumping on and taking time out of your weekend, bro. How are you?
I'm doing great, Andrew, and thank you for the wonderful intro there. No, it's always fun, and it's always fun to do these sort of shows where we just talk pretty openly about these artists that have inspired us so much. We're just talking in the green room about how much and how important Gary Moore was to like myself and to you and to so many others. Such a remarkable guitarist, singer, performer, songwriter, just the whole package, you know what I mean? When it comes to blues guitar players, mate, Gary Moore's right up there for me as being one of the all-time greats. And it's, it was his birthday last week, and just a wonderful opportunity to celebrate and talk about him again, as we have many times on the channel already, Andrew.
Yeah, I love it, bro. I love the fact that you and I and the Rock Professor especially can get together and talk about these giants that have left us this legacy. Before we were in the green room, folks, and we were just sharing some thoughts about some of the videos that Gary has left us, for us to sit back and enjoy. It's really good, bro, to have one thing, the music. The music is everything, having the album, the Spotify lists, the CDs or the tapes, bro. But the gold for us now as we get a little bit older, and I think young folks accept it now. They take it as a given. But for you and I, the fact that we have these DVDs and these videos of these guys performing and showing us what they've done over the years is just incredible. And you mentioned something to me that I felt too, bro. It's goosebumps, bro.
Yeah. Look, it's before we get too heavily into it, Andrew, obviously Gary hit me on so many levels when I first heard him. So I'm sure everybody that is watching this probably feels the same way about Gary, and his playing was not just next level. It was like a blessing from God that someone could play like that and inspire and show everyone what was quite capable of playing, how to play the blues in a blues rock scenario, Andrew. I mean, you talk about traditional blues, it was like blues power for me, the way he played. He took it that next step. That still got the blues record. It's still on weekly or monthly rotation, at least at a minimum for me. I listen to it at least once a month or twice a month, Andrew. This week I've been just engrossing myself, and last week for that matter too, because it was Gary's birthday. So let's take this minute to say happy birthday to Gary, and thank you for the music, and thank you for the inspiration. But we do have another shout out to do, Andrew, which is probably more important at this present point in time. We're going to do our shout out to our brother, the Rock Professor, Simon. We know you're going through a lot at the moment, and we're in your corner. We can't wait to have you back on the channel, but please take your time in healing, and we're thoughts and prayers are with you, my friend. And Andrew's sentiments the same, I'm sure. We can't wait to have you back on the show, but take time to let your body heal and recover, and please don't overdo it. And if you need to chat or anything at all, just give us a little message, and I'm more than happy to touch base with you and even do a video call or whatever. Andrew, I'm sure you're the same. I know he's been going through quite a bit with his recovery. So, thoughts and
well
prayers are
done,
with
bro.
you, Professor. Yeah, thoughts and prayers are with you,
Well
Rockland.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we send those out, and thank you, Simon, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll keep you folks posted if you aren't in contact with Simon.
Yeah.
We'll post it. I want to do a shout out to you, bro. That fun show that we did last week, it's getting some good views and got some great comments, and a lot of people understood the funny side of what we were doing, bro. So really pleasing that people got the humor, and there were a couple of comments there by saying, well, you guys have broken the mold. Ranking here.
Look, it was just a fun episode, and I'm glad for the most part people understood what we were trying to achieve there, Andrew, which is just have a bit of fun and get everyone interacting in the chat, which was great. And for the people who took it the wrong way or didn't quite like what we were trying to do, well, too bad. We're still going to do shows like that moving forward. It's we do get serious on this show about ranking albums, and we do these things with a lot of thought and a lot of energy that goes into each show, and we do it as professionally as we can. Even though we're fans, we're not experts, Andrew. I think we do a pretty good job with ranking the albums and giving the right information and putting it, out there the correct way. But to do a show which is fun, ranking haircuts with no preparation was really fun. I got a big kick out of that, and I think everyone else in the channel did. Especially in the chat, Andrew.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and we'll share that. We've shared that on some of our Facebook groups and Facebook groups that we're members of, and so the comments that we're getting from some of the Facebook groups are interesting as well.
That's right.
There were some people that didn't quite get the humor, and that's okay. But they were nice with the comments. But most people, bro, as you say, understood what we were trying to do there, because it was all part of that birthday celebration for Slow Hand, and happy to do that, bro. Before bro, I'm going to do the intro shout outs, and I'll get you to do the end shout outs. Before I do that, though, I think you should let folks know the plans that you and I have for the channel next week, if that's okay, bro.
Sounds great. In Simon's absence, we're not pushing him to come back next week. We want him to spend the time resting and doing what he has to do to recover. We decided that we would do another similar show to like today and celebrate the mighty Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple, Rainbow. We're going to celebrate his birthday is actually on the 14th, which is tomorrow. But we're going to come back next week at this time, next week, and we're going to do a wonderful show based on Richie Blackmore, Andrew, and just talking about, the similar things to what we'll be talking about today with Gary Moore.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And I'm looking forward to that because, again, folks, if you're a regular to our channel, you will understand that we've ranked a lot of Gary Moore albums. If you're watching on a replay, I'll attach some of those links or those cards to those shows. If you are also a long-time member, you'll know that we have ranked a lot of Deep Purple albums. We have a Deep Purple playlist, bro, set up.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Yeah, we're big Deep Purple Richie Blackmore fans here, and why wouldn't you be? Why would you not be? Sorry, it's Richie Blackmore is definitely one of the all-time legends on the Stratocaster. So
100%, bro. And we're going to invite Hugh to jump on and join us. So we'll be in touch with Hugh during the week. We know that Hugh is a huge Blackmore fan as well. So again, Hugh won't mind us telling you. I think we've sort of mentioned that before in the past, that Hugh had was going through some health issues. So and he's on the mend. Yeah. So that's good. So hopefully he can join us, bro, next week.
Oh, that would be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. Yeah, to have Hugh on. But yeah, look, that's the plan at this point for next week, and until we decide to change it. No, I'm joking. We're going to keep it that way, and yeah, we are, just so anyone who's wondering what the hell we're doing with our ranking of the tracks for the Jimmy Page with the Black Rose. We are coming back to that, but we're going to sit on our hands and wait till the Rock Professor's ready, and then we'll come back to that album, because
Yeah, can't
obviously
wait.
there's still tracks to do on there, and it's good because I've already done the rankings, but it will give me the opportunity to maybe have another listen and reassess those rankings as well. But it's pretty hard to not give most of that album top marks, so I'm not giving
Yeah,
away
yeah.
too much. But yeah,
Yeah, 100%, bro. So yeah, we'll keep you in touch. Hit that notification button if you haven't already, folks. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel because you're watching on the replay, please do. We subscribe back to all subscribers, and we invite you to go to our friends and celebrate them by joining their channels, because hitting the subscription on YouTube doesn't do anything to you, but it helps the channel, that channel that you're watching. One subscription is going to get them from 999 to 1,000, and that's just
yes,
going to put that channel into another level on YouTube. So that's got to make you feel good if you can do that for a channel.
100%, 100%. Yeah, no, we're looking forward to that, and we do have a couple of other wonderful things planned for the up and coming shows, Andrew. We won't say too much until we've got confirmation, but yeah, stay tuned. You'll get all the information you need from the channel. So subscribe and hit your notifications as well. And while you're at it, you might as well give us a thumbs up for this wonderful episode we're about to do. We don't normally talk about this, Andrew.
Yeah. Good stuff, bro. So I'm going to do a quick shout out to everybody. We've got some people here watching us. Derek Clacton, always a great supporter of the channel, bro. He's going to join, catch up with us later, and he always does. So when he does say and leaves a comment, he does, because he'll make some comments. We've got a good friend, Digital Guitars UK, Andy, in the chat. Thank you. Alan Toll. Just a fantastic supporter of the channel. Always a pleasure to see Alan here again with us. Albert Arthur Parsnips is in the chat. Good to see you, bro. We've had great comments from him in the past. Helena O'Hara, another great fan and, well, friend of the channel.
Yes.
Good to see that. Johnny Heartbreaker, thank you for hanging out with us. Tony Bowen, thank you. And I think we've nailed it all. Johnny Heartbreaker is there, bro. And I saw a new comment by Raymond. Thank you, Raymond, for joining us. Mark Tanner, another great friend of the channel, bro, is here. I urge you to go and check out Mark Tanner's channel.
Yep.
And Raymond is, it's 3 a.m. where he is, and he's from Detroit Rock City, bro.
Yeah.
Motor City.
Raymond, we would love to get Bob Daisley on. We would love to. We'll try and reach out to him and see if he'd be more than happy to jump on. We'll see. We'll see.
Unless Raymond knows him. If you know him, Raymond, put us in contact with him.
That would be amazing. Yeah. That'd be incredible. Yeah. Wonderful.
I think that's everybody, bro, in the chat. So thank you, folks.
I think you hit everyone in the chat there, and anyone who's watching later on, thank you for watching the replay as well. So important to acknowledge them, Andrew, because we get a lot of them later, because we do go live at a weird time for the people in the US and overseas, because if you don't know, I'm based in Australia and Andrew's based in New Zealand. So for me right now, it's 5 p.m. So yeah, it's early afternoon for myself, and a little bit later for Andrew. You're you're 2 hours still, Andrew, is it, ahead of me?
You're coming up to 7 p.m. So it's one of it's a good time slot for the hosts, i.e. myself, Brad, and the Rock Professor, because he's 12 hours different, so it's a little bit earlier for him. So yeah, if you want to come on the channel,
Yeah,
the best time for you to come on if you want to be part of anything we do will be this time. It's pretty
yeah,
difficult for us to organise anything during the weekend. Brad's busy. I've got things to do. So, but
yeah.
we've got this slot, bro. Always booked.
For
Easy.
the most part, we're always here, and we do our best to show up and make sure we're here and provide quality entertainment.
Yeah. Oh well,
uh,
yeah. We're just having fun. We're just having fun. That's what it's about. So,
yeah,
bro, I think for me, Gary Moore. Look, sorry to go over this, again, but we're here
don't be
talking
sorry.
about him. The thing for me with Gary Moore, I became aware of Gary Moore as an artist in '85 when he came out with that song "Out in the Fields" with
Mm,
Phil Lynott
mhm.
or Lynott, however you want to pronounce it.
Yep.
And the video was huge here, and it was a pretty cool video. And we
Yeah.
knew Thin Lizzy. So, I knew Thin Lizzy. I knew who Phil was. And I kind of heard this name, Gary, beforehand. And I knew some Thin Lizzy stuff, obviously. But it wasn't until that video and that song where Gary Moore, as an artist, became cognizant for me moving forward. That's the defining moment for me, bro.
Mm.
What about you?
Well, for me, obviously, I was getting into the blues in the sort of the 90s. I was getting right into that whole blues scene, and um, my late friend Alan Newland, who was running a locksmith firm where I was working in Perth, in Western Australia, where I was working there, goes, "Have you heard this Gary Moore album called Still Got the Blues?" And I went, um, I knew who Gary Moore was, and I'd heard the song "Still Got the Blues," and I went, "Yeah, I love that song. It's fantastic." He goes, "But have you heard the album?" I said, "No, I haven't." He goes, "Take this home and have a listen." He lent me his CD. I've still got the blues, and it changed my life. Andrew, changed my life listening to that record. Obviously, you got your hits on it, like "Still Got the Blues," "Oh Pretty Woman," "Walking by Myself," but to listen to the whole in an album as we do when we do rankings, Andrew, from start to finish, it had continuity, it flowed. The way that Gary sung and played guitar, the covers he did, but the original music he did on it as well. The covers were great. I love how he put his spin on them. Um, but the original blues music that he was releasing it really hit me. It sunk into me immediately. From that point, like I'd obviously knew about Thin Lizzy, Andrew, and I knew about his solo career up until that point, but I'd never really given, I guess, the time of day to listen to it intently. But I knew about it. I knew about Gary Moore, and I knew he was a fantastic guitar player, and a part of Thin Lizzy's history and whatnot. But the turning point for me was, you know, Still Got the Blues. And from that point, I think I pretty much bought everything Gary recorded. Prior to that, just to study him, Andrew, I needed to study this guy. I need to hear how he had evolved to that blues player, because he started with more blues based music, Andrew, with Skid Row and all that. And then with Thin Lizzy, it was a little bit more rock. And then he was pushed by record companies to be a rock star. You know, he almost got picked up by Whitesnake. We all know that. Ozzy Osbourne wanted him. But, going back to the blues, which was an album title he used later, was where his roots were. And I think I watched an interview with him today on YouTube where he was talking about how he nearly bailed on the whole project, Andrew. He nearly bailed on Still Got the Blues. And, thank the mighty Lord above that he didn't, because I think that is what reinvigorated his fan base, created a new fan base. And we actually got to hear Gary Moore, who he really was. I think not so much a rock star; he was more a bluesman. And you listen to people discuss and talk about Gary Moore these days, and they have nothing but utmost respect for him as a bluesman, Andrew. You know, but that was
Yeah, I
pretty much
agree.
for me, Andrew. That Still Got the Blues record was a turning point for me with Gary Moore. It changed my life. It really did. I became a blues nut in the '90s, and Gary Moore was a big reason I connected with that, because I loved that blues on steroids, or that power, blues power. I loved that. And then going back and rediscovering, as you do, Andrew, you listen to Steve Ray Vaughan, you listen to all these artists that would, you know, Eric Clapton, they do cover songs of an original artist, that record it. So you step back and listen to the original artist, and you start discovering, Albert King. You start discovering BB King, Freddie King, all these guys that were, outstanding performers. So guys like Gary Moore, they helped reinvigorate their careers again, or at least people acknowledging who those people were. Um, they're all part of the big cog, Andrew, the blues. I call it the chain of blues, and it goes in cycles, because even blues artists today go back and do covers of old blues songs. So you rediscover that song. And, I have shouted out to, say, guys like Joe Bonamassa. And, I've said to him in a comment, which he responded to, um, on Instagram, about him doing "Still Got the Blues." I reckon he should cover that song, so that I know he did Midnight Blues, but because it was such a big song for Gary, it would actually reinvigorate people to go and, I guess, with Joe Bonamassa's following, would reinvigorate people to go and listen to Gary Moore again. And I hopefully, from what we're doing here, even at this little small portion of blues community, Andrew, we encourage people to go back and listen to Gary Moore again.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think people realise how important this album was. Still Got the Blues for You when it came out.
Mhm.
And we've had the pleasure of ranking that album, folks, on the channel. And the importance of that album, I think, is going to sort of gain more momentum going into the future when people realise the depth and what Gary was trying to do with this album. There's a couple of things, that we've spoken about in the past, that Gary did deliberately on that album. He went out and got a reissue JTM 45, just the standard one out of the shop,
Yep.
a Governor pedal,
Yep.
a tube screamer, a Les Paul guitar. He understood clearly the legacy of the music that he wanted to incorporate on this album, where it was coming from. It was coming from that British electric blues vein. He was going to tap into that, and realized that he needed that kind of stuff. Um, Knew that he couldn't probably get a lot of gain for that signature sound that he had. So, that Governor pedal was
Yeah.
crucial to tip that over the edge. But I love
Yes.
the fact, that he was bold enough to go back, while other guys around that period when this album, a lot of guitarists were gear heavy. Once again, we see a guitarist being confident in his ability, confident the music that he's playing, and
Yep.
and scaling back. And Gary kind of continued that, bro, from basically right through his whole career. And I just want
Yeah.
to touch on another point that you made too. And Tony's made a comment here in the chat. Uh, Gary was always keen to go back and renegotiate the giants that came before him. We all know about the famous connection that Gary had with Peter Green through the 59 Les Paul that Kurt has. There's a connection there. And what does Gary do? He goes out there and he, does a whole album of tributes to Peter Green.
Yeah.
Bro, we were talking about this in the green room too. Gary's also renowned for playing a Stratocaster, bro. And
Yeah.
so what does he go out and do? He decides, that I have to pay homage to one of the greatest guitar players ever. So his tribute is Blues for Jimmy, bro, which is just incredible.
Yeah. That I watched that this week. And it nearly made me want to hang up my guitar and never play again. I'm joking. It was so good. It was so good. I mean, Mitchell even says, and
Hey,
Billy
Bob.
Cox. Hey, Bob. And Billy Cox says it, it's just remarkable. I mean, Gary Moore, the way he's got the ability to, he wants to channel a guitar player, he could do it. He played like Hendrix on that, played like Peter Green on that, Blues for Greenie, in a live VHS that came out called Blues Alive of a gig in London on the same tour that he was doing for where he got BB King up. That live performance there, when he does The Sky Is Crying, he imitates a few different guitar players there. He'll go, he talks about it, and you see he just automatically shifts into that style of playing, and then he shifts into, as he goes, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he talks about them, and he plays licks exactly like them. So he had the ability to do that. The wonderful thing about Gary was he actually went about trying to forge his own creative side in the blues, and I love that. That was something that so many people have copped since that. And you think about it like this, Andrew, at the time when Still Got the Blues record came out, every man and their dog was either doing the full rock thing, or in the blues scene, everyone was trying to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan with a Stratocaster. So he
Yeah,
came out with a
100%.
Les Paul and honed the Les Paul thing. He didn't want to cop Stevie Ray Vaughan. He could have done Still Got the Blues record on a Stratocaster, Andrew, because he was a Strat player. But he decided to stick with the Les Paul to distance that thing away from Stevie Ray Vaughan. I think that might be why he did that, Andrew, or it might have been because he just wanted to keep that, that Clapton, Peter Green thing, and stick to the Les Paul with the Blues Breaker, that vibe or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what he was trying to do, but to actually have someone come out, it was like we discussed it with Slash, Andrew, when we discussed, back in the late 80s, all the rock players were playing guitars with pointy head stocks and Floyd Roses, and then Slash came out with a Les Paul, and he was like the cool dude, just didn't want to conform with what was relevant at the time. I think Gary Moore did the same. He just goes, I want to play blues, I want to play it my way. And we got to see the real Gary Moore on the Still Got the Blues record.
I think he needed to play the Les Paul. I think that was definitely the guitar of choice. There was some thought about that. He talks about that on a couple of interviews, the humbucker especially, where he talks about that being crucial to his sound. There's a couple of other great things too that I saw, and I've got the DVD somewhere. I was trying to dig it out, but he did this wonderful guitar playing where they were covering Cream songs with Jack Bruce, and Gary Husband was playing drums. And there's a couple of those songs on YouTube. But the great thing with the DVD is Jack Bruce goes through and he gives you some lessons on how he's playing the bass. And one of the great things about these videos, again, folks, if you haven't seen them, please do. If I remember, I might attach. In fact, when Brad's talking, I might go and find that and drop it in the chat for you to go and have a look at. But one of the great things about what Gary's doing, he's playing an SG deliberately. He's playing an SG because he's got to play something, to knock those songs off the perch, bro. You know, "Sunshine of Your Love."
Yep.
And I'm just going. The first time I saw that when I was watching the DVD, I was, this guy's just incredible, bro. This
Yeah. He's very, very talented. He was a very talented man. He channeled Clapton on that. Very much so. I watched that not long ago. Well, the stuff that's on YouTube anyway, Andrew, I watched that again this last week. And I was quite blown away by, again, he just adapts to that thing. He locked into the Clapton vibe and just did it because he was playing all that stuff with Jack Bruce. He thought, well, I'm going to pay as much respect as I can. And I think that's a wonderful thing about Gary as well. He did have a lot of respect for these artists that he was, playing their songs. If he was playing with, say, Jack Bruce, he thought, well, I'm still going to play like Gary Moore, but I'm going to play the Clapton stuff as close as I can to Clapton because he wanted to do it tribute, I guess, Andrew, like the Peter Green one, Blues for Greenie. There's no greater tribute to an artist, in my opinion, than that one. That's probably the best tribute performance I've ever seen, Andrew. Blues for Greenie, what he did for Peter Green. The way he played those songs, he kept them
100%.
as close as he could to what Peter Green would have done. You know what I mean? So I'm sure Peter Green watched that performance back and was probably, feeling somewhat reminiscent about what the stuff he'd achieved as a guitar player himself.
Okay, so Raymond wants to know where we're based. So, Brad, do you want to tell Raymond where you are, and I'll let him know where I am?
Yeah, Raymond, I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and Andrew is based in New Zealand. It's Hamilton, isn't it?
Yeah, Hamilton, New Zealand.
Hamilton, New Zealand.
Raymond, if you know where those two great countries are, the globe and somewhere on the bottom. I'm further to the bottom.
We're down under. We're down under. We're starting
Thanks
to
for
experience. We're starting to experience the winter weather. Although this weekend has been like a summer day here in Australia, so it's been beautiful.
Awesome. So I'll put a link in the chat, bro, of the Cream of Cream DVD, which came out in '98.
Yes.
And there's a few songs, and that goes back onto the Jack Bruce channel. So what I'll do, hold on, bro, I'll put the Jack Bruce channel because people should be joining that.
Yes.
Cut. And all those videos are on this channel here, the Jack Bruce channel. But look, I agree with you, bro. We've ranked the album, the DVD on Blues for Greenie. Well, it isn't. Yeah, it's an album. Came out an album.
Yep.
And I have to agree with you. I think that and Blues for Jimmy.
Yeah.
Are just two great interpretations. Faithful, but clearly Gary's putting his print on to the original songs, bro. He's treating it with respect. He's not, going completely wild out of the, where it's going to piss off fans who were there on the stage and, in the concerts watching these artists back in the day, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's, Raymond's just saying Bob lives in Australia. So, yeah, if you can hook us up, we'd love to have him on the show. That'd be amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Bob Daisley, was the one who jokingly suggested to Gary to do a whole blues album.
Yeah, 100%, and it's all documented, in these two wonderful biographies. A little bit like Clapton, with the '94 Unplugged. They're sort of like, oh, are people going to dig this?
Yeah.
Brad, that a blues album.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Bob's a very talented man has been played with everyone. Basically, he's played with just about everyone. So for him to suggest to Gary to step into the blues by doing a whole blues album, very smart man. Thank you, Bob. I guess we should thank Bob for Still Got the Blues and for pushing Gary in that direction.
Oh, 100%, bro. Because that album is, a masterpiece. Again, if you've watched us over the years, we talk about, we use that word. Well, look, let's be fair. Most of the albums we talk about on the channel are pretty good. We're pretty lucky there. We're not picking duds, but every half a dozen or so, bro, there is definitely one that you can consider a masterpiece, a must have.
Yes.
And I would definitely say, if you are interested in learning blues guitar, you have to have this album, bro.
It's mandatory. I've always loved the album cover of this too. I've always loved it. It's the interpretation of Gary as a young kid, and then on the back cover it's Gary sitting on a bed playing the same Les Paul. It's just cool, yeah. It's very.
Do you know
cool.
why you like that? Do you know why you like that album cover? Because clearly it resonates with you, with me, and every other bloody guitar player when we were growing up, bro.
And that's why I think the whole concept of the album, the album cover, everything, it does. It's like you go back to the things that you love listening to, and they're the things that you continue to listen to for the majority of your life, really. I mean, the stuff that I grew up listening to and the newer bands around, I listen to some newer stuff and that, but I'll always go back to the ones that really inspired me when I'm feeling like music is letting me down or I'm not getting what I want out of it anymore and I'm losing inspiration as a guitar player. That's when I pull out stuff like Still Got the Blues or Appetite for Destruction or, Stevie Ray Vaughan's, Couldn't Stand the Weather or, that's just what I do. I chuck those things on, Andrew. Led Zeppelin, I put Led Zeppelin 2 on, kicks me up the arse. You know what I mean? It makes me want to go play guitar again. And Still Got the Blues. Like I said, it's one of those albums I'll always put on when I need that inspiration, pushes me.
Yeah.
It really pushed me as a young guitar player, and in YouTube world, there is footage of me playing Walking by myself and stuff like that, 15 years ago or more, and trying to do all the Gary Moore stuff. Trying is the key word there. I'm not saying I'm pulling it off, but I'm trying because it was such a big inspiration to me. But yeah, Still Got the Blues. That's a mandatory album for anyone who wants to venture into the blues, or if you are a bluesman, if you never heard it, naughty, go and investigate. You have to listen to that album. That's yeah. It's a mandatory.
So we've got Robert Schaffner in the chat, a good friend of the channel. Good to see you, Bob. So he's making a comment here on the channel. A couple of years ago, we were lucky and fortunate enough to have Curtis Mesner. Forgive me, Curtis, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. And we did a couple of hours, and Curtis talks about this comment here that Bob has made. And also we had Bob, forgive me. Who was the guy that owned Heimlich Guitars? We had him on the channel as well, and he spoke about this as well. So I'll include a link. I might do that when Brad's talking. I might go and find that and put that in the chat. But the guys at Heimlich Guitar were fascinated by that greeny tone, bro. They took it seriously.
Yeah. That was I remember that interview, that discussion we had. Yeah, John. Yeah, John ZD351. Good to see you, mate.
Paul
yeah,
Heyman.
no, yeah. It was very important. The Peter Green guitar the greeny guitar to Gary was very big, pivotal point for him once he got that guitar, Andrew. Once he acquired that guitar, I think that cemented the Les Paul thing for him. You know what I mean? I think he was always going to be a Les Paul guy, even if he went back to a Strat or anything else. I think that that sort of guitar for him with the humbucker was very important. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, the wonderful thing that I love about Gary as well is he was open to collaborating with other artists. Um, you know, obviously on Still Got the Blues, he collaborated with George Harrison, which was a big one. Albert King, collaborated with Albert Collins,
100%.
BB King. Um, the list goes on. Obviously Ginger Baker. You mentioned Jack Bruce before. There's mountains of performers that he collaborated on to do like blues music with, and his band were always sensational. And that Scars record, Andrew, I don't know if you've ever given that a good listen, but that's like that's an incredible album. I mean, it's got a lot of power in that album. Different sort of guitar tone he's going for. He's got a bit of Strat on there. He's got Explorer. It's got Les Paul. It's got a bit of everything in there. But yeah,
Don't forget also, folks, BBM as well. We've Brad and I and the Rock Professor have ranked the debut album that trio put
yes.
out, and I have to remind you, if you haven't already heard that album, it's, gosh, bro, it's powerful. In fact, I listened to it probably a couple of weeks ago. I just
Yeah.
can't get over how good that album is.
And it's wonderful to hear Gary Moore playing with 2/3 of Cream. It would have been a dream come true for him, no doubt. But it was great to hear him singing with Jack Bruce as well. I think their voices really worked well together. That's a wonderful album, Andrew. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you, moving forward into the show, a couple of things, including which albums you recommend people go and listen to. So would you say that would be one of the albums that you'd recommend people to go and listen to of Gary Moore?
Oh yeah, 100%, bro. Because that's the music groove that I'm into. You see, if I ever met, and I have in conversation, I'm sure I mentioned to Carl a couple of times. I don't think Carl paid much attention to that album when it came out, which is understandable because it was the mid 1990s, wasn't it, when that album came out? Mid 19, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and obviously, there was a lot of things happening in the mid 1990s, but if you're a Cream fan now, I'd love to steer people towards that album and say, look, go and check it out. And gave a new lease of life to Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce, bro. You got to remember that it was. Yes, it was about Gary Moore and Gary getting an opportunity to play with these legends, but again, it's documented. There's interviews there, and it's recorded. Ginger Baker's biography talks about it being a great time for him. Just hanging out with a guy who could play these Clapton-like licks, but sound so different.
And have his own distinctive sound and approach to the guitar. Obviously, he was very Claptonish to an extent, but he could do his own thing in there as well and get away with it. Like, the people weren't expecting to hear him play like Clapton; they were expecting to hear him play like Gary. But he did amalgamate
100%.
two things. You know what I mean? And that was a very important thing for him. But you also mentioned about tributes and the way he did that one for Phil Lynott as well, where he did
Oh,
the that was amazing. That was a amazing performance to see all that, and with the guys from Thin Lizzy, that was great. That was a real, what do you call it? That was a real moving moment. Sorry, real moving moment to watch that. But I loved that black quilted maple Les Paul he played in that as well. That was
Yeah.
a sexy guitar. I don't know if that guitar, he kept that guitar, or whether he offloaded it or what. But that was a beautiful guitar. So Andrew, I've got a few questions I want to ask you, if that's all right. I've got
Sure.
a few questions I thought I'd ask you. I've been trying to put together a bit of a list here of, say, my top three Gary Moore moments. Not albums, not live. I guess a live performance, or a guest performance, or a song. Your top three, Andrew. Would you be able to sort of rattle off anything off the top of your head straight away, or would you need time to think about that?
Oh, well, easy. And Johnny Heartbreaker has just nailed it it's just fortuitous with his comment. Parisian Walkways was just crazy, when we first heard that, we knew that was something special. All versions, the live versions especially, are just
Yeah.
fantastic. The way that he just hangs on that note,
Oh yeah.
it's just breathtaking. It's better than anything. It's better than it. I won't be
Yeah.
descriptive because it's a family show, but
Yeah.
if you're a guitar player, if you're a music lover of this kind of music, the way that he just holds that note
Yeah.
on Parisian Walkways is just incredible. And we got a hint, didn't we, with that song, bro, of when you go back in time, if you hop back in the DeLorean and you go back and you listen to this, you get an idea of why and how Gary was going to be a great blues man
Yeah.
further on in his career. Am I correct?
100%. 100%. 100%. Yeah. He had that melodic feel, but he was a bluesman. You could feel the blues in his vibratos in Parisian Walkways. So that there's a live CD that came out called Blues Alive. That version on there is outstanding. That's probably one of my favorite versions of that song. It brings tears to my eyes how beautiful that is. Um, Wonderful, wonderful version. Wonderful. We've got Raymond in the chat saying he's got to go to sleep. Have a wonderful sleep. Thanks for joining us, Raymond. And yeah, if you manage to talk to Bob, or even you're mentioning Jack Moore, his son, he's always got an open invitation on the show to come on, promote new music, and have a chat about his dad as well.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks,
for
Roma.
joining
Thanks
us.
for hanging out with us.
Yeah,
Yes, Tony. So I know you're going to answer yours. So Parisian Walkways, 100%. Still got the blues for you. I'll never forget, bro.
yeah,
Again, I'll never forget hearing that on the radio.
yeah,
Um, and I've mentioned it before. And how many times have we done this? We've heard a single on the radio, and you've hopped in your car, or you've hopped on your push bike, or you've skateboarded, or you've grabbed a bus or whatever,
yeah,
and you've run into town to the record shop to get that record, CD,
yeah,
or tape, bro. I remember doing that and
yeah,
bringing it home and listening to it, going, "What is this?"
yeah, yeah. It's outstanding.
I was
Outstanding.
listening to Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses were huge at that time, and
Yeah,
this just fitted in there, bro. This wasn't like left field, but it was, because it was blues, but it had
yeah,
this power guitar, bro, that was going on, and so you could play Guns N' Roses, and then you could play Still Got the Blues for You, and go, wow. And I remember friends listening to this album that were not Gary Moore fans, that were rockers,
yeah,
and weren't even blues guys, bro, going, this is great.
yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. Well, there's another one I want to bring up that's a bit of a sleeper, really. Unless you're a big Gary Moore fan, you might not know about this one, but he played on a Traveling Wilbury song called "She's My Baby," and the first time I heard that, I thought I didn't actually know Gary Moore was on it. I bought the album, Traveling Wilburys 3, put it on. I was like, who the hell's playing that? That doesn't sound like George Harrison. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, not to knock George Harrison's playing. George is one of my all-time favorite guitarists, but I was like, who's that? And obviously, the liner notes you look up, and sure enough, it's Gary Moore. You know,
Yeah.
it was. They gave him a nickname too. I can't remember what they gave him. You know how they all
Oh,
had a Wilbury's
yeah.
nickname? I can't remember what they called him. Someone in the chat might be able to tell us.
Yeah, I can't remember too.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
was.
yeah. Speaking of Traveling Wilburys, I've got their first album on my list of albums for us to rank too, bro. So
Beautiful.
that's on there, the first album. We have to start off with the first one, bro.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that was that was wonderful to hear him playing on that. That to me was um, outstanding. I think I mentioned it before, just when you were talking about Prince in Walkways. I think Blues Alive. That's something that everybody has to go and discover and listen to if you haven't already. That's
Oh,
Gary Moore on tour with his band playing blues, and I don't think there's anything out there that comes close to it, Andrew, when it comes to live blues performance. He's got a big band behind him. Um, it's got he's got the whole thing going on, man. It's got the horns, it's got everything. You know, like the big Chicago blues bands, it's got that sound going, and it's absolutely outstanding. It's outstanding. So yeah, I think Blues Alive and the VHS or DVD that came out around the
oh,
same time where BB King gets up and plays. That to me was, I mean, Cold Day in Hell, the way it used to open, and that sound of that Soldano with the Les Paul, that was something outstanding. And I mean, we're talking around the era when 24 Nights with Clapton came out, and all these guys were using Soldanos, Andrew. It made me want to go buy a
yep.
Soldano. I've got to say it. I'll put it out there straight away. I wanted to go and buy a Soldano, but I couldn't afford one because they were about 3 times the price of a Marshall here in Australia. So it was just too much money. But that sound on that record, um, you know, on Blues Alive, the sound, we were talking about Prince in Walkways, where he holds that note and he's just holding it, and then he brings in the vibrato slowly, and he keeps that vibrato there, and the note just sustains forever. That's what it's all about, Andrew. With Gary Moore, that's what it's all about, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
100%, bro. It's an incredible collection.
how blessed are we to have that stuff recorded and be able to listen back to it? It's like lightning in a bottle, and it's capped. We can unearth it anytime we like. It's wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful.
and Albert's made a great comment here, and we've just spoken about that too. The BBM album, Albert, you're right. It's just incredible playing. I thought we had a Gary Moore playlist set up, bro, on the channel. We don't, so I'll be doing that between now and bedtime this evening because there's a few albums. It's just under the generic ranking the tracks album playlist, bro. But
Yeah, yeah.
I need to get because how many albums have we ranked of his?
A few. I think I missed one, which was um, how blue can you get? I think I was
Yes,
king,
yes.
but you guys did that one, which was great. And I think we've done still got the blues. I think we've done blues for Greenie.
Ken
Uh,
Wilbury.
okay, yep, that's who it was. Should remember that one. I should remember
Sorry
that
for
one.
interrupting. Yeah, I
No, that's
know
all right.
you should.
Yeah, so we've done it. We've done a few, Andrew, to answer your question. We've done a few of the old albums, but we'll definitely do way more. You know, we'll definitely do way
100%.
more.
And
Yeah,
I have to include too, bro. You know, again, we've spent some time talking about it. being a pedigree Fleetwood Mac nut, and I remember when they were talking about the blues for Greenie, and we've discussed this at length. I won't go into full detail again, but I remember when they were talking about this coming out and being really excited and listening to it, going, "Wow,
Yeah.
get." This idea of Gary Moore playing Fleetwood Mac songs. Just think about it. Just think like, what's Gary? Wow, what's Gary gonna? Because we know that he's done covers and
Yep.
versions through his career, so that's no big secret. There's many examples of him doing that over the years, and he's done that really, really good. But to get that, bro, for me, and also before I throw it back to you, I've already put up this, but this area here, out in
Yeah.
the fields with
The
Phil.
fields. Yeah. And we talked about the Hamer guitars before.
Yeah, wow, just
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. Oh, you're so cool. Look at him.
Wonderful.
Shall I put the photos up now while we got them?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the photos. So
So these are the
this
ones you
guitar
sent me.
here, Andrew, very important guitar. That's still got the blues
Mhm.
Les Paul. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
Stripe was its nickname.
Yep.
Sometimes mistaken by people as the Greenie, but this guitar plays a very important part in his career, Andrew. Um, I mean, everybody talks about Gary Moore with Greenie, and rightfully so. I think Greenie was an integral part of who Gary Moore was. There's both of them together. There's Stripe and Greenie there together. And if anyone is not sure how to tell them apart, you can see Greenie's got the pickup covers still on.
Correct.
That's always a good indication because they under the lights of the stage and that sometimes they look very similar with the live performances that I've seen, but um, distinctively Stripe, the one on the left, has a stronger flame, and the one on the right is Greenie. So yeah, there's Gary in the sorry, need a drink of water. But just give me 1 sec, Andrew. I've got to get a drink of water.
Yeah, no problem. So this is a photo taken at a Marshall amp sponsored gig that Gary attended, and you can see there that that's Stripe, the guitar, the black pickups that Brad had pointed out to you folks. So when you see these gold top or these similar guitars and you want to know which one it is, just look at the pickup covers and that'll give you a clue. The silver pickup covers, Greenie, the black one, Stripe. So we'll just hold on for these photos until there he is. Brad is
My
back, so we'll
apologies, mate.
flick up.
I just had to get
No
my
problem.
drink of water. I started to get a bit dry, and you've got me talking a lot, Andrew. So,
There's another cool photo of Gary.
yeah, later in his career, and that's a beautiful looking Les Paul too. Yeah,
You
great
need to go
book.
and buy this book, folk. That's Stripe. That's what, again, that's what the amount of people that said that Greenie on the cover of this album, this book is great. No, it's not Greenie.
Stripe, and I think it's important to let people know that guitar there he played on the song Still Got the Blues, and that guitar stayed with him right up until the very end before he passed away. It's was it a Fiesta Red Strat, Andrew? Is that
Yep.
the
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
It's an L series, I believe, or something like that.
And there's I always
Yeah,
love
Wild
this album
Frontier.
cover, Wild Frontier.
It's a good album too. It's a very good album. Stripe was a 59 Les Paul, was it? I think it was a 59 Les Paul standard.
Yeah, both 59s. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that's for the most part, I think Stripe actually appeared more on Gary's recordings than Greenie in the blues career. Anyway, I think that Stripe was pretty much the majority of Still Got the Blues record that you're hearing a Les Paul was Stripe, and then anything with that nasal Peter Green tone was Greenie. That's pretty much how I understood it, Andrew. Where there's a bit of miscommunication going around that Greenie played on everything, including Still Got the Blues, and it's not
No,
right.
no.
So
And
that
there's plenty of information available online where all that is outlined. And again, it's in the biographies. One of the great things about especially Harry Shafaro, this guy here, is he's a musician himself, and so when he does biographies, when he talks about the gear, he knows that he's talking to a guy like Andy, who's asking what what Marshall amp was he using? Was it a JCM 80 or a JCM 800? You know, so you got to get that stuff right. So he clears that through. Hence it being on the cover.
Yes, that was a very important guitar for him. Unfortunately, Gary went through, some financial stuff later in his career. I think he might have had to cancel a run of tour gigs on a tour, Andrew. I think it was, if my information is correct, and it cost him a lot of money. So I think he ended up letting go of Peter Green's guitar, Greenie. But the deal was it was meant to be kept quiet when he sold it. But unfortunately, it didn't quite go that way. It was highly publicized that he sold it, but he didn't let go of Stripe. I think Stripe was his main weapon of choice when it came to recording, Andrew. With a Les Paul.
You couldn't keep news like that a secret, bro.
No, that was a bit silly to think that would be quiet.
Yeah. It's okay if I sell you a guitar, or you sell me a guitar. We can keep that quiet.
Yeah, because we're not Gary Moore, mate. We no one really cares what we do. You know what I mean? But no, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, Andrew.
I know.
But that was that guitar was very important to Gary, and I believe that it's important we acknowledge that. He did use that on Still Got the Blues song, and the majority of the album we're hearing a Les Paul is that song, that guitar. And for the most part, he would generally start off with that Les Paul on stage. And so it was like a comfort zone for him, that guitar. I think he really connected with it. So last I heard, his family own that guitar still. So I don't know whether that is what you know, Andrew, or you might know more. I'm not sure.
No, I'm assuming that they've still got it. Tony's got a great comment here. Yes, we've mentioned that in the past, and thank you for bringing that up, Tony, because it is well worth folks going to check Clapton's tribute to Gary Moore. It's incredible. I think the first tribute show that we did, we spoke about that, and often gets buried in a lot of the stuff that you talk about. So thank you for bringing that to light. I will search for that link and drop it here for people. Well worth checking out, Brad.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But I mean, Gary released a lot of albums that were blues, and his second follow up to Still Got the Blues, Andrew, After Hours. That's a remarkable album as well. He did a lot of guest performances throughout his career as well, and but he pretty much kept coming back to the blues. And one of the records that I love that he did was Back to the Blues. That was a great record, Andrew. It had a lot of great songs on it, and I think people, rightfully so, should go and check that out if you haven't. I think that was a great record to to come back after he did a few other little things. He ventured there for a bit doing stuff like a different beat, Andrew. It's got a picture of a Les Paul on the cover. And what was it? Dark Days in Paradise. That was a
Yeah.
little venture away from the blues as well. Still had a blues feel to it, but it was a little venture away from it. And then he came back to the blues with Back to the Blues. And I think that was a wonderful record, Andrew. You obviously heard that one.
Yeah, 100%. I think now I'm pretty sure we've ranked that.
I'm not sure. I think we did After Hours. I'm not sure.
Oh,
Maybe we have. We'll have to. It's been a while since we've ranked a Gary album. We might have to go back and re-investigate what we've done, and then pick the next blues one after that. Maybe.
John
Yeah.
ZD351 earlier in the comments when he jumped on was talking about Still Got the Blues from his perspective, bro, and it was a CD that he wore out when it came out as well. So yeah, just a great time. It was just phenomenal listening to that. And then, as we've been talking over the last 30, 40 minutes, bro, just providing that catalyst for him to go forward and just do these great tours, great albums, and great tributes. I suppose, bro, it gets us to the point now where we're talking about a tribute and celebrating Gary's life. We don't want to dwell on it too much, but it's probably getting to the point where the news through social media, bro, of finding out that Gary had passed. So do you want to talk about when you heard it, bro?
Yeah, it was a bit cliche. Jumped on Instagram first thing in the morning. I know I don't normally try and do it, but every day you first wake up, you turn your phone on, and the first thing I do is unfortunately turn Instagram on, and I discovered that he passed away, and it hit me pretty hard. I must admit, I didn't want to believe it. I thought, Gary, like, he's still young. Like, it just shocked me. If anything, it shook me a little bit. You know what I mean? I was like, wow. And now when I think about it too, it kind of hits hard because you go, it was such a big influence, and yeah, I'll be honest with you, I did. I didn't bawl like a baby, but I shed a few tears, and I was like, I couldn't literally believe that he passed away, and I was obviously Googling news, Gary Moore, trying to find out whether this was a hoax or whether it was real information, and obviously, unfortunately, discovered that the news was true. And yeah, mate, just like when Eddie passed away, and all these people that have left us far too early, it hit pretty hard. I was like, it's not fair, because he still had a whole career ahead of him, in my opinion. When from the age he died, Andrew, he's still young for a bluesman. You know what I mean? It was hard. It was hard. Yeah, I took it pretty hard. Shed a few tears. I couldn't listen to Gary Moore properly for a week or two, maybe more. I just couldn't listen because it was sad to. I mean, when you listen to, say, for example, Still Got the Blues or Prince in Walkway or all those songs with those strong melodies within the guitar playing. You put it into context of losing Gary, it was hard to listen to them without getting sad. It was pretty sad. But how about yourself, Andrew? Like, I mean, obviously being a bluesman and loving Gary, I'm sure you may have felt the same way. Was that something that, how did you discover it? And, what was your initial thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us, bro. Appreciate that, because it's always, important to remember too. The times that we get, the bad news.
Yeah,
Look, I've made no secret. 2010 was a pivotal year in my life. There's a lot of things that were going on in my life around that time, and in particular, 2010 was when I decided I was going to spend the rest of my life from that moment on
yeah,
dedicating myself to the British Electric Blues and all these great albums and great musicians and great guitarists. I was going to read, listen, and watch as much of this stuff as I could for the rest of my life, bro. And
mm,
I remember running back. I felt it was like running back and jumping into Gary's arms when I'd made that decision, because Gary was alive. Gary was there.
yeah,
Had all these great albums, and I was looking forward, like Clapton and Keith Richards, to spend the next 10 years, of what are these guys going to give us,
yeah,
great, wow, Gary's going to be one of these guys. And then 2011, like you, through social media going, waking up or seeing, a post going, Gary's passed away in Spain. And, I, like you, bro, I shed some tears because I just couldn't believe it. I just felt let down. I was, yes, it's selfish. I know, but I was, bummed out, bro. I was like,
yeah.
oh,
Very,
I'm going to,
very hard to explain it to anyone that's not
hey,
really
Davey.
been heavily influenced, Andrew, by someone like music being such a big part of our lives. Um, it does feel like a family member, Andrew. You know what I mean? When you don't know them personally, but you're attached to them through their music. So you're heavily influenced by, say, Gary's playing on guitar or his words, the way he sung, whatever it may be, or all of it, the whole context of him as a bluesman, or as a performer or a guitarist, like a heavy guitar player or shredder or whatever it may be. Um,
Yeah.
it may have inspired you to pick up the guitar, and then losing someone that's done that to inspire you that way is hard. It hits pretty hard because a lot of the heroes that I've got, Andrew, when I was learning guitar, had already passed, like Jimi Hendrix. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Um, so to lose one that was relevant in your life, and you were rushing out buying their records when they'd come out from JB Hi-Fi or Virgin Records or wherever the hell they were being sold at the time.
Yep.
Um, you know, it was definitely yeah, it hit pretty hard, I must admit, to lose Gary.
Yep.
And I just felt like we were cheated because he had so much more to give. That was kind of how I felt. He died
100%.
too young, you know.
Yeah, Jack Bruce
Unfortunately,
was another one in 2014, him passing as well,
yeah,
and yeah. We could rattle off a list of greats, but yeah, certainly, bro. When Gary passed away, it was like, yeah, we were ripped off.
yeah,
So I suppose that just puts us now in the position here, that we've got here on this channel, and everybody, Jonas, good to see you, bro, and Davey, a good friend of ours, good to see you, bro. Dave is
mm,
just a legend. Thank you for sending us all that stuff too, bro. It's just incredible. But one of the great things that we do here on this part, this little corner of the YouTube universe, is that we've got our community of friends here, bro, where
yeah,
we can celebrate and talk about this music and these great albums, and shine that flag, shine that light, wave the flag, bro.
Yeah, that's what we do, and that's why we do this channel, Andrew. You know, we do it because we love the stuff. We rank the albums of the that we love. We talk about the artists we love, and it's continuing flying the flag and bearing the flame of these wonderful artists that we're blessed with. Jonas, we are doing a Richie Blackmore show next week for his 80th birthday tomorrow. So this time next week, we are doing a Richie Blackmore show where we're going to talk and discuss and celebrate Richie Blackmore and how important he is to rock and blues music. I'm sort of talking. He was a blues guitarist to some extent, but more rock guitar player. Andrew, would you say blues based rock guitar player?
Oh yeah, he's definitely a rocker, bro. Definitely a rocker.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And look, I'm looking forward to that too, bro. And that's a good way to sort of put us towards wrapping up the show, Jonas. Thank you for asking the question and reminding us. But yes, at the top of the show, Brad mentioned that, and we're looking forward to that because Deep Purple. We've ranked a lot of their albums. What a
Yeah.
cool band, you know. They looked cool. I love all versions of Deep Purple. I don't get into if you want to have an argument about what version of Deep Purple is the coolest, jog on. Off you go.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Yeah. I agree. No, we're big Deep Purple fans here. We love them. And Richie Blackmore was just as influential to me as what Gary Moore was, you know, as a up and coming guitarist. Richie Blackmore had this standout feature in his playing. He had a lot of flavor in his playing compared to a lot of the players of his time, Andrew, in the 70s at least. Everyone was very blues based, where he put a little bit of that, you know, classical feel to the music on the guitar. He put a little bit more in there, even though he was blues. I mean, listen to, you know, Machine Head and listen to Lazy. Now that's blues, man. That's blues. That's blues through and through. There's no way to describe that anything but the blues.
I
So
think
yeah,
one of the great things that Richie was doing at that period, you know, while there were a lot of great rockers out there and a lot of great guitar players, you know, pulling out riffs, bro, and great rhythm players, the great thing about Richie Blackmore, right from the word go, is he stamped his personality through the music. What you're
oh,
hearing is Richie Blackmore's personality. And then because Brad and I were talking about this at the beginning of the show in the green room, and so everything that you're hearing back in the day pre-YouTube and all the videos that you've got now, when you go back and sit and watch these videos and watch these interviews with Richie and what he says, you get a picture now of why that music was so different, because it is just Richie Blackmore, bro.
yeah, 100%. And he did put a lot of that personality into everything he played. Yeah, it was 100%.
Yeah, what a
You know,
dude. Those
yeah,
lockdown shows he did too, bro, they were cool, man, with his big mug of beer. That was just, oh, I,
yeah.
eh?
I I think even listening to him talk now, he sounds like he's humbled a little bit more. Maybe I don't know, but he definitely was. He's eccentric, Andrew. He's eccentric.
Oh, yeah. What a dude. What a
Yeah.
dude. 80. So you're right, Jonas. We're going to be, Brad and I are going to be here. We're going
Yep.
to hopefully have Hugh is going to jump on and celebrate it, because we know that he's a huge Blackmore fan. But yeah, we'll be celebrating 80. Our second
Yeah.
80th birthday show on the
Yeah.
channel, bro.
Yeah. Outstanding, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. No. Happy birthday, Richie Blackmore. Thank you for all the years of music, and look, we hope to hear many, many more from you. You know what I mean? We want to hear more Richie Blackmore, but we are talking about the wonderful Gary Moore. So thank you, Gary, for
Yeah,
the inspiration and for everything that he contributed to the blues world. When you think of UK guitar players, you can't do anything but think of Gary Moore, in my opinion, when it comes to blues. And he cemented himself that many times. I think, the proof's in the pudding. You get put on a record and you listen to him playing the blues, and he plays it like no one else, mate. He really does. Um, People talk about, say, Steve Ray Vaughan. He was like a machine. He used to just pick up the guitar and off he'd go. He'd play Scuttlebutton at soundcheck. You've probably seen that footage of him waking up. He's just woken up from the tour bus, and he's doing a sound check, and he walks out and starts playing scuttlebutting perfectly. He's yawning 2 seconds before it, and then he plays scuttlebutting. It's like that he was meant to play the blues, and I think Gary was the same. Every time, I don't know, there was this footage of him for a while there from a guitar magazine. It's on YouTube, of him just describing a few different styles on guitars, and he's just face melting, playing this face melting blues stuff. It's just, and he always used to shock me every time, every time you put on a record that he just released. Like, I remember Andrew um, going out and listening to, say, when the album, what was it, Bad For You Baby, when that came out, I put that on, and then just listening to that, and it's just, you're listening to the music and you just go, mate, this guy's just doesn't stop. He keeps evolving as a blues player.
sure.
And those songs, like, they're just, I don't know. I don't know, mate. He did wonderful cover versions of songs, but he wrote wonderful blues music as well. That's the difference between him and a lot of other blues artists, Andrew. I'll put it out there and say it that way.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
we're going to wrap up the show, folks, and thank you, Brad, for reminding us that we should be doing this show. We're going to be back next Sunday. Next Sunday is Easter Sunday, so bring some Easter eggs,
Yeah.
and we'll have some Easter eggs together while we're celebrating Richie's 80th birthday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Tomorrow is Easter Monday, leading up to Good Friday and Easter. So
Yep. Happy
keep
Easter.
keep keep family and friends in your thoughts, and God too.
Yes. We all do. 100%. 100%.
You want to
Well,
do a shout out,
Andrew,
bro?
yeah, thank you for indulging us today and letting us talk about Gary Moore. Jonas, Simon he's doing okay. He's had a bit of a rough trot the last week post surgery, but I know he's doing a little bit better. So our thoughts and prayers are with Simon. We did a bit of a shout out to him at the start of the show, Jonas. So again, Rock Professor, we wish you all the best, mate, with your recovery, speedy recovery. That's what we're praying for. So, I'll do a bit of a shout out, Andrew, just to wrap up and say thanks to everyone who joined us. I'll go backwards here. Johnny Heartbreaker, thanks for joining us. We've got Tony Bowen, Jonas Halberg, thank you for joining us. Digital Guitars UK. We had John ZD351, the mighty John. He joined us as well. Ellen Toll, my mum, thanks for joining us. Who else we got here? Davey Woodford. Thank you for joining us, Davey. It's great to have you on board. Let's have a look going backwards. We had Albert Arthur Parsnips. Thank you for joining us, Albert. Great to have you on. Raymond, thanks for joining us today. And we'd love to talk to Bob. Yep, I've seen your message there where you sent your niece a text about the channel and to talk to Bob. So thank you for that. And again, an open invitation to Jack Moore, whom is releasing stuff, music at the moment. And I've actually, sent him a couple of little messages here and there just to congratulate him on his because it's very hard for musicians to get out there and at the best of times, but when they're following the footsteps of someone like Gary Moore and trying to forge their own path, they need all the support they can get. Go and support Jack Moore. That's a good one. Andrew, go and support Jack Moore. Go and listen to Jack Moore's music and give him a thumbs up and a follow and support and share his music. We had Robert Schaffner join us. Thank you for joining us, Robert, Bob. And I know we had more people. There was Derek Clacton, Robert Schaffner. Who else was there? Tony Bowen, I've mentioned you. Thank you again. There's a lot of comments here, guys. Mark Tanner, that's what I was thinking. Thank you for joining us, Mark Tanner. We appreciate you joining us. And Helene O'Hara, thank you for joining us again. It's always wonderful to see you guys in the chat. And I think that's everyone, Andrew, that I've rattled off. If I've missed you, thank you again for joining us. And if you're watching this back, please subscribe.
And you have to bring an Easter egg next week. We're going to be eating Easter eggs on the show.
Okay. I'll save an Easter egg. Unless my son gets it first, I'll fight him for it. How's that?
Happy Easter, everyone. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Thank you, bro. We're going to cruise? We're out of here?
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. Bye.
Where are we? Hold on, bro. We're out of here.
Chocolate hot cross buns. Bye-bye.
Oh. Oh. Oh, even better.